Hello everyone, this is Akhier, and hey, we're back in the SCP Foundation. Today we're going for a newer article, and specifically the random.org has told me to do 8083. Though I will note, it actually told me a 9000 number first. However, those aren't all there yet, and so it directed me towards one that was not actually existing yet. I know, right? How quirky. Actually, I wasn't going to do this, but let's see. Yeah, Series 10, and it was down here, and it was like, I don't know, one of these, but access denied. That doesn't mean like access denied. That means that this page does not exist. And so, well, I had to skip that. And so instead we are doing 8083, which is targeted data stream. So let's move on through. Oh, got these. Or no, that's the correct one. Yes. There we go. I had the footnotes open because they come earlier and I wanted to be able to switch between them, which you'll see soon enough. So let's get on with it. Item number SCP-8083. Object class Keter. Special containment procedure. At this time, effective containment of SCP-8083 is not feasible. Research into the nature of SCP-8083-A and any means of shielding the human population from its effect is underway and is to be considered high priority. Individuals showing symptoms of SCP-8083-B are to be detained and examined by means of interview and, if results are inconclusive, full brain imaging at a Foundation medical facility. Individuals whose results show no abnormal alterations may be released after administration of a Class C anesthetic to erase any recollection of confirmed exposure to SCP 8083-A. Instances of SCP 8083-C are to be held separately in standard humanoid containment cells at the nearest Foundation site. Any contact or communication between instances of SCP-8083-C must be pre-approved by Level 3 research personnel and monitored by CCTV with audio capture. All instances of SCP 8083-C are to be prevented from directly viewing the sky at all times. Attempts to conduct any scientific studies of SCP 8083 by civilian organizations are to be monitored and discouraged by Foundation scientists embedded with the responsible organizations. Sabotage operations are permissible pending approval of the O5 Council. And here we got a little position of a star map, so presumably that's where things are coming from. Though we're about to find out. Description. SCP 8083 is a pulsar located with the Cassiopeia constellation, approximately 4,700 light-years from Earth, provisionally named PSR J0041 plus 5846, with a relatively slow rotation period of 1.322 seconds. SCP 8083 was discovered on 2021-4-19 by the Foundation Orbital Radio Telescope Rubin MR2 while monitoring a previously well-documented stellar region. At 4:31 UTC, the first electromagnetic flash from SCP 8083 was captured. It is not currently understood why the pulsar was not detected at a prior time. Footnote 1. It is believed that the angle of a pulsar's polar beam relative to its axis of rotation may drift over time, similar to the drift of Earth's electromagnetic poles. However, this change is gradual and occurs over hundreds of thousands of years. So, still kind of a mystery. SCP 8083's rotating poles emit an electromagnetic signal designated SCP 8083-A. The signal has an abnormally well-defined limited frequency band with low-intensity gamma rays and negligible output in the visible light spectrum, but powerful amplitudinal peaks of redacted. It is hypothesized that SCP 8083-A encodes some form of data transmission. Project 8083-CLIES is underway as of 2021-5-24. To investigate this possibility through cryptanalysis and differential spectral analysis of the signal. For this purpose, all of SCP 8083-A's transmission history is to be recorded and archived in digital form. Orbital Radio Telescope Rubin MR2 is now exclusively assigned to this task for as long as necessary. In spite of its weak visible light component, SCP 8083-A appears to be perceptible by human beings through the visual sensory system. Footnote 2. Experiments mapping brain activity during exposure to SCP 8083-A show consistent spikes in activity in the occipital lobe associated with vision. When observing the precise location of SCP 8083 in Cassiopeia constellation for an extended period of time, the brain is able to detect SCP 8083-A through unknown means and triggers an anomalous neurological condition designated SCP 8083-B. This effect is cumulative and permanent. Irreversible effects have been observed after exceeding 3 minutes of cumulative exposure. Individuals confirmed to have sustained more than 3 minutes of exposure to SCP 8083-A in total are designated SCP 8083-C. Notably, common protective eyewear does not provide adequate protection against SCP 8083-A, which is a bit of a trouble. The most recognizable symptom of SCP 8083-B is synchronizing blinking. After exceeding the danger threshold of exposure, SCP 8083-C instances begin blinking in precise intervals equal to the interval between SCP 8083-A pulses. Footnote 3. 1.322 seconds, which was actually mentioned earlier. Actually going to refresh the page just because I noticed I had all the extra stuff already expanded. Although subjects are still able to close their eyes at will, attempts to induce irregular blinking by irritation of the eye have no effect. Other known symptoms include, but are not limited to, conscious contractions of muscles in the face, neck, throat, and arms in regular patterns, sometimes accompanied by subtle clearing of the throat or the nasal passageway. Other minor voluntary and involuntary muscle spasms, the desire to repeat certain items a set number of times. No SCP 8083-C symptom or instances have shown any signs of awareness of their unusual behavior, and with the exception of the aforementioned symptoms, appear to behave normally. Captured SCP 8083-C instances generally assert they feel normal and healthy, frequently expressing confusion and desire to return to their family and occupation. I would too. Because far as we know, or far as those affected know, nothing's wrong. Addendum 8083-1, Interview Log 8083-1. Interview log, etc. Date 2021-4-8 at 8:30 a.m. I'm assuming it's going to be a 24-hour clock. Interviewee, SCP 8083-C-1, formerly Level 2 researcher, blankety blank. Department of Astronomy. First identified and contained SCP 8083-C instance. Interviewer, Dr. Blank. We are not getting any inference between anything about them. So, as is tradition, I will have the researcher be in a bit more of a researcher kind of voice. I'm not sure if this is researcher kind of voice, but it's just me doing a lower voice. Whereas the interviewee will be my normal voice. Ah, traditions. Begin interview. Interviewer. And we're rolling. Good morning, C1. Skip 8083-C1 remains silent. Body language shows agitation. Eyes are constantly blinking at a regular interval of approximately 1.3 seconds. Look, blank. I'm going to break protocol just this once and say this. I'm really sorry that we have to do this, okay? But please understand we're concerned about your well-being, and we need your help to figure out what's going on here. You're not being punished for anything. We just want to make this as quick and painless for all of us as possible, all right? Skip 8083-C-1 relaxes slightly and leans back in their chair. I don't know what you mean. I feel fine. Why do you keep blinking like that? You're doing it right now. Your colleague said you started doing it after you finished analyzing those new Rubin transmissions. Do you have something in your eye? No, I don't have anything in my eye. I really don't know what you're talking about. My blinking feels totally normal. Let's start from the beginning. We've heard the satellite Rubin MR2 has discovered a strange object recently. Tell me about it. Well, the satellite was pointed in the same direction for weeks, just doing some idle monitoring. We've been working on a new observation schedule for a while, when one day it started picking up some signal we'd never seen before. Skip 8083-C-1 flexes a muscle underneath its right jaw 4 times. What was that? Well, it resembles a pulsar, but a rather strange one. For starters, we've been trying to figure out why it suddenly popped out of nowhere. That doesn't just happen. I wanted to think I'd witnessed the burst of a new pulsar, but it spins pretty slowly, which essentially rules that out. How slow is that? 1.32 seconds period. Ish. Funny. That's about as fast as you've been blinking this whole time. What the... Is this some kind of joke? I told you I'm blinking like normal. What does my blinking have to do with the damn star anyway? Let's continue. What else can you tell me about the pulsar? The EM signature is weird. Redacted. Is all over the place. Then there's a cutoff just before the visible spectrum and barely any gamma rays at all. Skip 8083-C-1 shifts its right shoulder 3 times. Why do you think that is? You tell me. I thought it might be a glitch in the readings, but it's consistent. So far, I've never seen anything like it. What did you do after you discovered this? Well, there's not much to be done. Blank. Told me to report it as a potential object of interest, so I did. And that was the end of it. I tried to observe it on my own time outside of work one time, but that's it. Tell me about that. Well, I drove out of town one night and brought my 2 telescopes. I do that pretty often. It does my brain so much good. I keep a whole backlog of stuff to try to capture when I'm out there. And while I was waiting to get a good shot with the big gun, I pointed the small one at Cassiopeia, in the direction of the pulsar. I didn't really expect to see anything, but I was curious, and I still remember the exact coordinates. And did you see it? No, of course not. It was 1 in a million chance. The star is just way too dim. But I couldn't help but just stand there and look for a while with my own eyes. I thought maybe a miracle would happen and I'd see something, but no. I see. How much time did you spend trying to observe it? Skip 8083-C-1 makes 2 quiet snoring noises and clears its throat twice. How much? Oh, not too much. Gave it about 15 minutes with the telescope, and when I saw that wasn't going anywhere, I gave up. Okay. You said you tried to see it with your own eyes as well. How long did you look at it? But I didn't see anything. It's just not visible, plain and simple. Please answer the question. About 5 minutes? I don't know. I was a bit spaced out, just waiting to take the big shot with the other telescope. Skip 8083-C-1 rotates its left wrist until the crack of a joint is heard, then its right wrist, and then repeats both motions a second time. Very well. Are you still feeling all right? Yeah, of course. Doc, can I... We'll do everything we can for you, C-1. You have my word. This interview is over. Skip 8083-C-1 closes its mouth and frowns at the camera, still blinking in regular intervals. End interview. Well, that was interesting. I wonder how far it goes with ignoring the fact you're doing it. I assume pretty far. That tends to be how these things work. Now, Level 3 Classify Addendum 8083-2 Autopsy Report 2623-199. Warning, the following file is classified, or the following file is Level 3-8083 Classified. Any attempts to access this file without Level 3-8083 authorization will be logged and will lead to immediate disciplinary actions. Autopsy report number 2623-199, subject SCP 8083-C-14, formerly D8124, time started 2021-5-23 at 2214. Time finished 2021-5-24 at 2:55. Time of death T-minus 5 hours. Cause of death heart failure caused by lethal injection. Intake notes. Subject exposed to skip 8083-A for 1 hour. Subject was experienced symptoms of skip 8083-B, but claimed to feel perfectly well and acted as normal until death. Oh, I guess we're finding out how far they go. Brain scans showed unclear but extensive alterations to brain anatomy. Findings. Brain extracted from subject. Approximately 20% reduction in mass compared to healthy specimen. Inner hemispheric fissure partially fused in several spots. Temporal and parietal lobes diminished but appearing normal. Significant decrease in number of cerebral folds on frontal lobe. Unknown spongy cellular growth found stemming from occipital lobe in extensive contact with surface of cerebellum. Removed temporal and parietal lobes from cortex. Further cross-section of the brain shows increased porosity in most brain tissue. Amygdala. I know this word. I've heard it pronounced before, but I've not read it while trying to pronounce it. Amygdala, found enlarged by about 35%. Progressive brown discoloration of inner brain tissue, ventricles enlarged and connected, forming a central chamber filled with viscous brown fluid. 190 milliliters of brown substance drained from ventricle chamber. Additional highly porous tissue found within, which serves no clear purpose in any neuroanatomical structure. Inner surface of ventricle chamber lined with exposed nerve endings. Bottom of chamber contains more foreign cellular growth connecting directly to spinal cord via brainstem. Minor portion of spinal nerves branch out freely into the chamber. Pineal gland not present. Black spherical object with hardened outer shell found in place of hypothalamus, approximately 33 millimeter in diameter. Unable to dissect object using available lab tools. All samples preserved for further study where possible. Contact with air found to cause rapid decay in porous tissue. Dr. Blank, Chief Surgeon of Site Blank. Oh, that was interesting. Though it didn't actually, I was expecting to have a little more information on this, where subject was experiencing symptoms but claimed to feel perfectly normal and perfectly well and acted normal until death. But that could just be they were acting normal until death. New Level 4 Classified Addendum 8083-3 Project 8083-Kleis Preliminary Finding Reports or Findings Report. Got the S backwards. By order of the Overseer Council, the following file is Level 4-8083 Classified. Unauthorized access is forbidden. Your access has been logged and will be subject to audit. Project 8083-Kleis. Preliminary Finding Reports, date 2021-6-12 to 05-blank. And anyone else concerned. As you know, Project 8083-Kleis has been occupying some of the Foundation's top cryptanalysis around the clock for several weeks now. I'm no medical doctor and personally haven't the stomach to read that autopsy report in full, but rest assured, I fully understand the gravity of the situation we're in. For the most part, the transmission is still completely opaque to us, particularly the mechanics of its effects on people. We have good reason to assume there is a digital data stream encoded within redacted per order of 05 blank, containing seemingly random data, and we have not been able to crack the code yet. Given that its contents affects humans, I believe humans have some kind of innate ability to decrypt and understand this code. For this kind of transmission, the most reasonable encryption scheme to choose would be a symmetrical stream cipher, meaning the key expands into a long randomized key and randomized and unique key stream pattern used to mask the plain data, and it would seem this key lies within all of us. Dr. Blank, who conducted the interview with 8083-C-1 and is also licensed with the project, is convinced this is somehow related to the symptoms. More importantly, we have found something concerning regarding the beginning of this transmission, which may answer the astronomy department's burning question regarding how this object came to be. The very first transmission we received from Cassiopeia was not, in fact, the initial pulsar flash caught by Rubin MR2. 1 day prior, on 2021-4-18, Rubin received a one-off signal from the same direction, barely distinguishable from cosmic radiation background. It was very short and highly condensed, like a machine language. Some of it is still incomprehensible, and there are a few pieces of plain analog data we were unable to extract. Namely a short burst resembling a word, followed by number 3, followed by another short burst and 3 decimal numbers. Sol 3, and what we presume to be its coordinates. Pardon the conjecture, but at this point I have a sinking feeling. Whatever Skip 8083 is, it isn't a star, and it certainly didn't pop into existence on April 19th. Someone out there can control it, and they pointed it right at us. Please advise. Dr. Blank, Project Lead. And we are on to the footnotes. This is interesting. First of all, back to the autopsy report. It is, I guess, firstly, we are going to go with the fact that it's turning the brain porous. That is bad. That is generally found in, what is the word for it? I know what I'm talking. Spongiform something or other. Like wasting disease in deer and mad cow disease. Prion disease, yeah. Prion disease tend to do that to the brain. So a signal from space that just makes the brain do it to itself, that's dangerous. Because Prion disease has a 100% fatality. However, the anomalous nature of this signal is also providing something else. And actually, theorizing here, the whole eyes blinking at a certain pace, doing things and like cracking the things in certain numbers, that might be an unintended side effect. Because right here it's like sponging the brain, new growth, shrinked brain in general, and like, yeah, the increased porosity, which is the thing, and the brown the chamber where the brown stuff with the nerve endings and all that, it's massively altering the brain and is connecting directly to the spinal column. Normally, that's a little lethal for humans, to say the least. However, if you set up the body so that it automates itself, again, like already, because like the spinal column and whatnot, and the little part at the back of the brain, that already does a lot of automating. However, it can only do so much. So what this might be doing as part of its thing, the whole blinking and exact intervals, it's not that the blinking is intended, or maybe it's intended in the sense that, yes, we want them blinking at regular intervals. This is just the interval that it ends up blinking, maybe to help receive data or whatever. But everything else is an automation of the body so that it can stay alive despite losing out on a bunch of brain tissue that was probably meant to do some automation. However, the body isn't perfect. You don't blink your eyes on an exact schedule. You don't do all these things on an exact schedule. However, the body of these affected people is being changed in such a way that the organic automation is falling away, and so it's being replaced by a more set in stone, a programmatic, like, you will blink at exactly this interval kind of thing. Which is interesting. Especially when we get to the Project Kleist stuff. The fact that this guy, this Dr. Blank project lead, is like, I think this is something being aimed at us. Well, yeah, this implies that is not a natural thing. Rather, it is either a weapon or some kind of weird communication device, something like that. It is being pointed at us, and we don't have to actually see it to be affected by it. We just have to look at it properly. If I was in the Foundation, some of the research I would be doing would be to have, like, brain scanning as the person's looking at it kind of thing, just to see what it's doing there. And a bunch of other horrific things, because the Skip Foundation does horrific things. But I could definitely see some experiments I would want to do that would probably be quite lethal to the one subjected to it. But yeah, that's just it. But I do not think it is a weapon. It could be a weapon, but this does not feel like a weapon thing. What? Potentially, what it could be doing is maybe what it is downloading into the person and hoping that they get into a habit where they view it enough. this could be from simple to complex on this one side, programming them to do a thing, up to inserting an entire personality of someone else into them. So it's like wiping out most of the brain, putting that brown puddle, and that brown puddle ends up being like a more a brain of some sort where it's more efficient, so it can be like the sludge, thus less susceptible to a bunch of things. That would be interesting. Though it could also be just, like I said, simple drone, do a task. But yeah, I'm thinking that it is a transmission, and while it is harmful, it is not actively a weapon. Though someone would have to know exactly where we are and point it at us. Or how... I don't know how precise it would have to be for this to work. Not as in, like, I don't know how, like, in space terms, like, it can be... Depending on how it spreads out, it could be very imprecise. Or, if it's very, very... it doesn't spread out very much at all, you'd have to be precise in a way that we are not capable of. But as it stands, we aren't going to get more, but it's definitely one of those where it's like, ooh, you caught my attention. What is going on here? It would be interesting to explore it further. However, I am perfectly happy leaving it where it is, because another path that I could see it taking is it's a simple zombie ray, and it's just turning everyone that hit into it eventually into a zombie, and we have enough zombies. That would be boring. Even if it was like literally zombies, it was like just bio-combat drones. It's like, well, they're basically zombies. But yeah, so I would love to know more. I would love to not know more, because it leaves it at the perfect point. Like that final bit. Part of the conjecture. But I have a sinking feeling, whatever it isn't a star, and it didn't pop into existence. Someone out there pointed it right at us. Cut. End story. Suspense. So yeah, I am quite happy with it. And there's where it is. So, yeah, if you want to hear more of these, I've been reading them relatively consistently. So yeah, subscribe, ring the bell, because YouTube does not like telling you when people have uploaded stuff, even if you say specifically you like them. And also, leave a like. That would help me immensely. This is Akhier, and I'm signing off.